Welcome, sports fans, to another episode of the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition. I'm your host, Rowdy, joined as always my co-host Coop and Big Boy, but together in person for you for a special one. We got the big bowl matchups, of course. We're going to have Eric Henry joining us in the next couple minutes to discuss the Texas Sugar Bowl game against Washington, guys. But how are we doing?
Great, man. Ready for Monday. Ready for it.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Not only the Texas has a playoff appearance, but also just this game in general has a lot of hype behind it, and I'm excited.
We hear the boys are buzzing, so we're ready to go, man.
For sure.
Yep, it is packed, and we're going to cover it all for you. Not only, of course, the Texas, Washington, but Bama, Michigan, and then the rest of the big New Year's Bowl games as well. Of course, a little bit of NFL action and Kobe's Locks of the Week and the specials coming on later in the show. But we hope you enjoyed last week's episode and Tuesdays on the Edge. If you missed that, go watch that. Has a lot of numbers on it, a lot of views, a lot of new fans tuning in to you guys.
Thank y'all. We want to thank you for subscribing and liking. Leave some comments. Tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your grandma. You know, just get us some subscribers up. We appreciate all the love, for real. And the hate. We like it all.
We do. But joining us right now is Horns 24/7 own Eric Henry. Joining us now is the very own Eric Henry from Horns 24/7 senior writer. How are we doing, Eric?
Oh, man, what's going on, fellas? It's been a whirlwind. I apologize for throwing you all around with the timing. It's been a very hectic 48 hours since Texas has arrived, but always a pleasure to hop on with my guys here. So,
yes, sir, man. That is one nice hoodie you already got on. I'm sure you're gonna get all the merch. We need to tell those Texas guys that we need some of those hoodies that they got coming off that plane.
I will try. The gear they had was pretty sweet, and some of the gear they had in the presses earlier today is pretty sweet. So I'll see what I can do. Hopefully I can hook you guys up when I get back in Austin.
For sure. Well, we'll get right into it, man. How have the vibes been so far? I mean, I know you got there yesterday before the team arrived in New Orleans. How have the just overall vibes been since yesterday when y'all first saw the team? And then I know y'all went to practice today for a little bit of time y'all were allowed to watch. So what was that kind of like?
First off, fellas, going to practice, we'll use that phrase loosely. It was supposed to be a 15-minute window. Put you this way, we'd gotten to a point in which I wasn't even keeping track. We'd been there that short of a time, and we heard the familiar sounds of a very prominent Texas coach say, "What the bleep? Get him out of here." So, I'll let you guys use your imaginations who that prominent Texas coach may have been, and it was time for us to leave. So, from what we did see in practice, I mean, again, it wasn't much, but I'll give you what I thought was noteworthy. Xavier Worthy looks healthy, right? So, off the ankle deal, he's fine. I mean, X looked fast, and our own Jeff Howe wrote about that in Horns 24/7. The other thing, again, I don't want to, I almost hesitate even saying this because we saw such a limited portion. This may not be reflective of what we see on Monday night, but the first safeties we saw on the field when Quinn Ewers did throw a pass, so it leads me to believe it was a version of the ones until they quickly got those guys off the field, was Keaton Crawford and Michael Taft. So, could that be the starting safety duo come Monday night? It wouldn't shock me just because of the amount of playing time that Keaton has gotten. Also, with that being said, it could have just been a situation where they were showing us what they wanted to show us, and it'll be Jaron Thompson out there. Obviously, Jaron has played the most snaps out of any safety who is available. He's played 516 snaps this year. So those are the two big observations. As far as vibes, listen, man, the guys are loose. They're, I would say loose, but also focused. When I spoke with Jalen Ford and Jordan Whittington when they came on their rivals, they both said that, they want to enjoy the experience. And Sark was adamant about, hey, we want these guys, they've earned this right to be in the college football playoff. We want them to enjoy the experience. Now, it wouldn't shock me if the enjoying of the experience is in a controlled environment inside that hotel across the street and not necessarily out in New Orleans, especially come Friday and Saturday night when the legions of Longhorn Nation arrive in town. Because, fellas, I'll tell you this, just walking around New Orleans, at least a media hotel, it's been pretty much 3-1, if not 4-1, Longhorn fans, people in burnt orange, and white in relation to Washington fans. I'm not sure if that has a lot to do with maybe some Washington fans, still coming off of the holiday. Maybe they're arriving late, but this place, this city, this area is going to be a sea of burnt orange, I think, come, really Friday night into Saturday and all the way through into Monday night.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's so cool that I got you there. They got you a little hotel room. They did all that for you. They hooked you up. But we appreciate you coming on. But what does the rest of the week kind of look like as far as you know of? Is there anything leading up to Monday that you'll let us know of?
No, yeah. I mean, I'm going to try to recite off the top of my head because I'm seeing that schedule a million times. But Texas practiced today. They had availability was defensive. So it was T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Barron Sorrell, of course, a New Orleans native, Jahdae Barron, and Jalen Ford were the 5 players, and defensive coordinator Pete Gutowski. That was the availability today. Tomorrow morning, starting at 9:30, be Kyle Flood. We just got the list. So it's Kyle Flood, Quinn, Xavier Worthy, JT Sanders, Christian Jones, and that may be AD Mitchell. AD Mitchell is the 5th player. So those are the 5 guys. Again, no surprise there for people like us. The big thing is we're getting coordinators because Sark only makes those guys available once a year. That's at the beginning of the year, and that's it. His assistants are not available during the season. So the fact that we're getting coordinators, and the big one is on Saturday. Every player and every assistant coach is going to be made available for an hour. So it'll be nice to not only talk to coordinators, but talk to, guys like Tashard Choice and Blake Gideon and AJ Milwee, and, even talk to some of the guys that we don't get on the regular as far as players. CJ Baxter's been a guy we've just recently got as of late, but, some of those young guys like Jonte Cook and Derek Williams and others. So that will be nice to have. All right, fellas, give me 1 second. I'll be right back here.
All right. So you kind of talked about Xavier Worthy already. Kind of looks like he's back 100%, right? Kind of on the injury front, we know there were some other names out there after the Big 12 championship game. How are those guys kind of looking now from what you heard and obviously from what you saw today?
Yeah, I mean, from what we're able to see, everyone who was kind of banged up is out there. I mean, the only person notably is Jonathan Brooks. And even JB, it's so wild nowadays. I mean, dude tore his ACL, 5-6 weeks ago, and he doesn't even have a thick brace on anymore. I mean, and I mentioned that primarily, guys, because whether Jonathan decides to come back to come back to Texas or not, we'll see. But any idea that might have, I think if that injury had occurred in a bowl game, in a college football playoff game, maybe it's like, okay, that rehab is going to take you into NFL, draft talk and combine talk and whatnot. But this guy, I mean, he may not be ready for. Well, actually, I mean, shoot, the combine's in April? I mean, there's a chance maybe he's ready then if he chooses to go. So I only mention that to say, listen, I think the timing of that injury could play a factor in what happens with Texas in the offseason. But to your question, yeah, I mean, I just think that for what I saw out there, I mean, Austin Jordan was out there. I mean, pretty much everyone who was kind of, fighting an injury was nicked up is back up and ready to go.
Hey, Eric, how you doing, man? My theory kind of about, when speaking to Jonathan, when he got hurt, I think it made Sark kind of trust in Quinn more and have to lean on him and open up the playbook. Do you agree with that? Or do you think it's something just, I know Quinn was hurt, so we might have been, depending on him a little less, but I think since he's kind of trusted in Quinn, seems like this offense is kind of opened up.
I think to an extent that's true. Whether or not you want to, quantify it as trust, or, I guess really that's not quantifying, you qualify it as trust. That's subjective, right? Because I guarantee if Sark were here, he would give me the answer, oh, well, I've always trusted Quinn, so on and so forth. But did this force his hand a bit and kind of have to rely a little bit more on, hey, this guy's efficient. He can get the ball in his hands quickly. As long as the offensive line gives him time, I can call a game in which that, we can get the ball in the hands of a Xavier Worthy, of an AD Mitchell quickly, and allow them to kind of be that, intermediate kind of extended run game, short passing game. Yeah, absolutely. And I think those things have opened up things down the field as well. Now, with that being said, the big thing, and I talked about with you guys, can't remember if it was the first or second time I came on the podcast, is that CJ Baxter is still learning how to be a college running back, right? He's not a guy who's going to break 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tackles per game. He'll get you that explosive play because he's just that explosive and that talented. But he's not the guy who at this stage in his career is going to take a 3-yard run and make that a 5-yard run, or make, a 4-yard run and make that a 6-yard run and keep the offense on schedule. So to your point, yes, maybe by default, Sark has kind of had to rely a little bit more on the passing game. And I think you kind of see that in his play calling. Yeah, he scripts, those first 15, 20, 25 plays. But when some of that stuff is, hey, get it out quick. I'll give you an example of a play that I really love, with Texas. It's that turnaround screen, right? Where, Quinn kind of fakes one way and he's looking the other way and then turns back around and gets it. That's an example of a play, which we know how heavily Steve Sarkisian loves misdirection, but example of a quick hitter that serves as an extended run play. And if Texas blocks it well, they pick up a lot of yardage. So I think we're seeing a little bit more of things like that. And that, yes, to your point, could be a byproduct of Jonathan Brooks being out.
Yeah, for sure. And I've said it before, I'm a defensive guy. And I have a couple of defensive keys, and I want to see if you agree with them. My first one is it's going to come down to the big guys once again in the trenches. You got Washington's offensive line, who got voted on to be the best in the nation. And then you got Texas's defensive line, which is top 3, in my opinion, with 2 D tackles that are going to be in the NFL next year, So that's going to definitely come down to that. And if Texas can come in and disrupt Michael Penix and not just let him sit and pick you apart, piggybacking off of that, Texas also, to me, needs to be playing a bunch of press coverage, man-to-man press coverage, bump and run. I would way rather give up the 50-50 ball downfield than have Michael Penix just sit there and pick apart our zone. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think from our defense. And then for the offensive side, I think just Quinn has to come out and play lights out. So I want to hear what you have for the keys for the Texas defense as well as the offense.
Yeah, well, I'll respond to yours first. I asked all the guys who got defensively, but in specificity, Barron, Tavondre, and Byron, how important is it going to be for you guys to rush with 4 and get pressure with 4? And they all agreed, and PK agreed as well. Not necessarily that they can't blitz someone. Anthony Hill is going to come off the edge at some point in time, whether it's as a stand-up linebacker, as the butt guy, or Jet Bush, is probably going to get some opportunities as a pass rusher as well. But this is a key. I'll merge it into my key. If you look at Washington's offense, they've scored more than 21 points 8 times this year in the first half of games. So when people say to me, okay, you're only missing Derek Williams for a half, well, a half is plenty of time for Michael Penix and Washington and Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk and others to jump on you, right? So it's going to be crucial for the Texas defensive line to get home with 4, especially with whatever may be going on with the secondary in that safety spot. Ryan Watts, he's healthy. He was out there, but he's been coming off an injury as well. We got to see how that's going to shape up. I think that front 4 is able to help out the secondary. Now, to your point, in terms of, what you want to play secondary wise, I would agree. I will say this. Ryan Watts is, in my mind, he's the corner who has to match up with Rome Odunze, just size-wise. That's the matchup, right? I think asking a Manny Muhammad at this point in his career is too much to ask a true freshman. Well, Steve did say, actually, in his airport arrival, that these young guys now are virtually sophomores, having played 13 games of college football and been through an entire year. I think that's a lot to ask of him to go up against Rome Odunze. Jalen Polk himself is even a bigger guy at 6'2", about 205, and is pretty fast as well. But yeah, you're going to want to be physical with those guys. And you talk about the 50-50 balls. The only thing where I kind of get a little trepidatious is a 50-50 ball in my mind. And yes, to your point, you can give up things underneath. But if you take a look at Texas against TCU, against K-State, and against Houston, what really bit them in behind wasn't the fact that, they were allowing those underneath receptions, that they weren't tackling guys and getting them on the ground, right? And I don't necessarily want to play that type of style of ball game with, receivers who can, get yards after catch. However, with a 50-50 ball, those things are just such momentum shifts and big time plays. And if you get Michael Penix hit, let's say he hits 3 of those on Monday night, that's the difference in my mind between Texas, possibly, and you play the field position game as well. You can really get some swings that way with those 50-50 balls. So I don't necessarily know. And I think I feel better about it if the safety spot just wasn't I don't know how I feel about Keaton Crawford in coverage in a 50-50 ball. I think Michael Taft is getting better, but let's just call a spade a spade. They haven't faced the type of receivers that they're going to face against Washington. No disrespect to Jaleel Farouk and Blake Stoops. I mean, those are all, small, shifty guys, but they haven't faced a wideout who's really going to test them in the way that these guys are. So I'm a little iffy on the 50-50 balls. I think what I'd prefer, and it's what we saw in practice today, and what we heard PK talk about during his availability today, is let's just tackle and get the guys on the ground instead of, having missed tackles and allowing plays that should go for 5-6 yards, go for 20 and 30. And then offensively, in my mind, yeah, I mean, yes, CJ Baxter is growing and we're getting some things here with Jaden Blue and others, but Quinn is playing great football. I'll give you guys a little insight here. I was talking with some of the writers as we're heading to the Big 12 title game, and the report had just come down from Pete Thamel that Quinn Ewers was leaning towards returning back to Texas. And one of the things I said was, some of the guys is, no disrespect to Pete, but I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. What if Quinn goes out and throws 5 touchdowns in a Big 12 title game and then has a strong CFP? Well, he's halfway through one of those things, right? And he's facing a Washington pass secondary that, quite frankly, is not that good. There's no doubt in my mind that Quinn, if he gets rolling, can have another great ball game. So, yeah, I mean, if you get Quinn going early, I think to specify it to one specific key, let's get JT Sanders involved in the ball game pretty early. I mean, JT is a guy who has been banged up a little bit this year, but especially size-wise, if teams, you can scheme a little bit to kind of game plan against X, right? And you can kind of scheme to game plan against AD if you really want to. But I don't think when JT Sanders is healthy, outside of Brock Bowers, even he is, it's a 50-50 thing in my mind. I don't think you got a defensive player in Washington that you can scheme to really match it with JT Sanders. So, but getting him involved early and often.
No doubt. Well, we are joined, of course, by senior writer Eric Henry over at Horns 24/7. And I know you kind of just talked about Washington's pass defense, and Big Boy's got one for you.
Yeah, that's kind of piggybacking on what I was going to ask. Everyone, at least locally, we're always talking about, how Washington is going to do against the Texas secondary. And I do believe that the weapons that Texas has on offense going against that, well, they're number 120th in the nation against the pass. And I really don't think that they have seen anything like our weapons except for in practice. And the same with, Texas when they're practicing. I think they're both going to see the best versions of the receivers they probably have seen this weekend. Going off that JC Sanders, do you think we'll see any of Javon or Cook? Do you think we'll see Cook at all out here for the playoff?
I'm torn on that, right? Because if you just take a look at the rotation, it's been 3 deep for the most part, and Sark has said, hey, when the opportunities are there to get Jonte in, you try, but, this offense has been, if you just go 11 personnel, right, then you got your 3 wideouts, right, and Jordan, X, and AD, and now so you're tight in there in whether it's JT or Gunnar Helm, right? So that kind of makes it difficult. And who do you take off the field, right? Because Sark has been adamant. If you really take a look at the playing time for Jonte, it hasn't been a byproduct of them going 10 personnel, while they have at times. Some of their 10 personnel has been splitting JT out, or even splitting Gunnar Helm out, right? It hasn't been like we're going to go 4 wideout. It's been, taking X off the field and giving Jonte the snaps there. So could we see him? I think in spurts. But if I were to put a snap count on it, I couldn't see Jonte getting more than 6 or so offensive snaps. If this is a tight ball game, if it's a blowout, then of course he'll get his snaps at the end. But if this is a tight ball game, 6 to 8 offensive snaps tops, and maybe those are very specialized plays in which, all right, we think we can attack. And to your point, again, their secondary hasn't been great, right? Maybe there's something in the game plan that says we want to attack them 4 wide, and we're taking Jay Wood off the field, maybe Jonte in the slot. But that'd be something, if I just were to put a number on it, I'd say 6 to 8 snaps tops.
For sure. Well, we just talked about that Washington secondary, but kind of looking at the Washington team itself, I know you've obviously got a little bit of look at them and their season as a whole. Kind of what are your thoughts on the Washington team, and maybe the biggest weakness that Texas could take advantage of besides that secondary?
Besides the Washington secondary, I would say the biggest weakness, Washington's defense as a whole has been very spotty. I mean, even teams have been able to run the ball against them fairly well. And I do think if the game plan called for it, if it called for a, too tight, we're going to get JT and Gunnar Helm in there and we're going to run the ball, I think that's something they can do. But Washington's driven by Michael Penix. And I'm biased as a kid from my hometown, from my neighborhood, out there at Tampa Bay Tech High School. And he's a dude. I mean, there's just no other way to say it, right? I mean, when he's on and when he's right, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, a kid who's throwing for over 4,000 yards and only has 9 interceptions. I think that's one of the things that we talked about with some of the defensive guys. This offensive line, they've only allowed 10 sacks, and that's quite a small number for when you're throwing over 400 times. And he's been good with the football. He hasn't turned it over a ton. And I think, while I think Texas is going to win this game, I'll tell you that right now. I've been picking Texas since the moment this matchup was announced. If for some reason Texas loses it, it's going to be because Michael Penix is just a driving force and you cannot stop him. And my concern, this is something I will say, and I've written about it a bit, is the formula for Washington in my mind is just piggybacking off what Oklahoma did. We're going to RPO you. We have a quarterback who isn't going to look to run. What he's going to do, he's going to step up in the pocket, right? He's going to use his legs to try to create more time for his guys downfield. And the big thing is they're going to go up tempo. If you take a look, Jalen Ford, Jahdae Barron played 85 snaps against Oklahoma. They, being the Sooners, kept Texas in their base defense a lot. Only able to get, some of those defensive line guys off, like Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Those guys played, 40 snaps, and they probably should be somewhere in the 30s, the low 30s in a game. They were playing 40, a little over 40. And of course, that was a, warm day there in Dallas. I think that's the formula for Washington, in my mind. They got a kid in Dylan Johnson who, listen, so many teams tried to run the ball against Texas. Dylan Johnson ain't going to have a ton of success, but they at least have someone who is a threat back there, right? And that's the key with the RPO, right? It can't have one person and not the other. At least got a threat on both sides. That's the game plan for Washington. If they can execute that and keep Texas in that base defense, not allow them to get guys on and off the field, that could be concerning. And that's the big thing. But all in all, I think Texas is going to win this ball game. I just think Texas, in my mind, is too talented. And listen, it's going to take, in my mind, you're talking about Texas defense that allowing on average something like 16, 15 points per game. It'd be a huge anomaly for Washington to come out and just score 40 on them. But if Washington has a chance to win, that's going to be the game plan.
Sure.
And that would be a change up, because usually Washington, they're pretty slow and methodical, so if they do throw that, running tempo in there, that is one of those things that Kalen, he might throw a curveball here at us. Go ahead.
I was gonna kind of point something out, and we've said it before, but I think Sark, and I'm sure we can all agree that Sark is probably one of the best play callers in the nation. You know what I'm saying? And so when you give him like a month, like what do you really expect from his play calling, from him having a month to prepare for this game?
I think it's going to look a lot like the Oklahoma State game, to be honest with you. I think we're going to see Sark try to jump on these guys early. That's my thing. Don't, mess around. Sark talked about it against Oklahoma State that he felt like they had to be aggressive. Part of that, when I asked him, we said, "Did you feel you have to make a statement to the CFB committee?" And he said, it wasn't necessarily driven by that, but you definitely wanted to go out and make a statement. I think it's the same thing here. I'm sure you guys would agree with this. I think the best games we've seen from Sark as a play caller is when he's been aggressive early on. Yes, you want to get a running back like Jonathan Brooks involved early, but if you can go out there and jump on a team and you have a decided advantage, again, with this Washington secondary, just go for it. I'm not saying you chuck it downfield, 50 yards downfield, but, listen, when you have a guy like Xavier Worthy, how many times this year have we seen him, fake like he's going deep, right? Really kind of have that hard sell on a go route and come back and get you with a 15-yard comeback route and he's get a first down, right? Plays like that. And you get those deep digs to AD and some of then, when the offense is in rhythm, you kind of get some of those screen passes, right? Some of the things that allow some of the guys the yards after catch. That's what I'm expecting to see from Steve Sarkisian. So yes, certainly one of the best play callers in the nation. And I really think his script is going to call for an aggressive game plan to really jump on these guys and force Washington. If you're going to get, in my mind, in a back and forth battle of Washington, that plays to their advantage because they're so comfortable offensively. If you can jump on them early and put them down, that's the game plan.
Yeah, no doubt. Michael Penix, his completion percentage is lower against top 25 teams. And I do think that Texas defense can take advantage of that. We hope. Do you think the only way that Texas wins if Quinn outplays him, or do you think we can rely on that running game more and kind of get them, both sides of it running in and passing?
No, I see it the other way around. I think the only way Washington can win is if Michael Penix outplays, plays out of his mind, outplays the whole Texas team. I think there's plenty of ways, and this is where I got to give Sark credit, right? I think I've said this on the podcast with you guys, but I wrote about it. When Sark, after the Rice game, said, one of the things I like about this team is how versatile we are, I just called BS. I'm like, all right, that's a head coach trying to cover for the fact that his team, didn't perform to expectations early on against Rice, right? Because who says after a Rice win, well, I'm proud of how versatile we are. But the fact of the matter is, they've won. You go back and look at a lot of these games, they've won in different ways, whether it's been driven by the defense, driven by Jonathan Brooks, driven by Quinn, right? So no, I don't think in my mind, the only way for Texas to win is Quinn out dueling Michael Penix. I think Quinn can have a steady Quinn game, which is, 60, high 60s completion percentage and maybe one touchdown or two, and Texas defense can get the job done. But no, I think the only way Washington can win is if Michael Penix plays out of his mind, because you take a look at their ball games in the Pac-12. I don't see any other formula that they listen. If they're going to come out and just suddenly grind it out and get 150 yards on the ground against Texas, then we all were wrong. And, that's what it was, right? But that I don't see that happening. So, yeah, I think for Texas, it could be a defensive driven game. It could be, hey, we're gonna play keep away and keep the ball out of Michael Penix's hands. I think they have multiple ways that they can win this ball game.
No doubt. Well, we got one of the best in the game right here in Eric Henry at Horns 24/7. No doubt about that. We got a couple more questions, 2 more before we get you out of here. I know you're busy times for you down in New Orleans. But kind of looking at it, first one, you mentioned the Saturday press conference, media day for all the players. What do you think that Arch Manning circle is going to be like with him in his home state of Louisiana?
Man, fellas, I am not even looking forward to that at all. I guess I shouldn't say that on the air, but it is what it is. I mean, here's the thing. From a reporter's perspective, it's just going to be so nuts. And the type of conversation that I would want to have as someone who covers Texas with Arch would be in a more controlled environment when it's just the Austin guys, and it's not, no disrespect to the national guys or, the people that come from everywhere else, or, it's going to be, I would say that thing is going to be, I would be stunned if it doesn't resemble Sark's scrum at Big 12 Media Days. And that was 20-25 deep, so we're there for an hour. I'm hoping maybe if I find Arch like at minute 50, it'll be like 6 people and I can ask him a question of, some level of uniqueness, but that scrum is going to be nuts. I mean, I'll give you my game plan, guys. We've talked, we're going to get Quinn and X and, JT for us during the week. And we'll get the guys we've talked to, so often. I'm hoping to really get to some of those guys like a Jonte or a Gunnar Helm or, a Jake Majors, a Alfred Collins, some of those guys. Benda, Ryan Watts. I'd like to talk to some of those guys on Saturday, but yeah, that scrum is going to be nuts.
No doubt. Well, last one before you get out of here. We know you already mentioned you think Texas is going to be that winner. How many points, we won't ask for, unless you got a score prediction, but how many points do you think the Texas offense is going to be able to put up in this game?
I don't have a prediction yet. I think my prediction is due. I'd probably do tomorrow, so I'll have to work on that. But if you just take a look at the averages, I mean, Texas has scored between 30 and 40 points, 9 times this year, if my memory serves me correct, out of the 13 games. They've played to their averages, that 37-point mark that they're at, or 36 points. Sorry, Washington's at 36-point mark. So I say somewhere around 35 to 39 points. I mean, again, could things get out of hand and they put up like, 50 possibly, but just going at the law of averages and you take a look at what Texas has done, they'll finish somewhere around 38 points. And that defense will, no disrespect to Washington's offense, but, probably holding somewhere around 2 touchdowns overall. And we'll see what happens field goal wise. So that kind of gives you an idea of where I'm kind of leaning score wise, and I think
right.
the national title game.
Like it. And national title against Bama or Michigan?
My gut tells me we're going to rematch against Bama. It's hard to bet against Nick Saban,
It is.
in a one game scenario, especially with Jalen Miller kind of trending upwards. I mean, maybe that's the one I think I'm most intrigued by. A rematch of Texas and Bama, but that's where my gut's telling me now. So we'll see where that goes.
I mean, we've all said it. It's hard to beat Saban once in a year. It's pretty
No,
dang impossible to beat him
beat him
twice.
twice, no
No,
doubt,
that's a little scary, but
no doubt.
Very scary. Well, man, enjoy New Orleans. Enjoy that food, most definitely. And of course, the game. And we'll see you whenever you get back. We got you one of these that we'll meet up.
So listen, I got about 3 days, I think, between as I said, Texas in my mind will be in the national title game. So I think about 3 days in between. I got to be in Houston. So I'll link with you guys at some point, cop the hoodie and rep it, man.
there you go.
Sure. Well, we appreciate Eric Henry from Horns 24/7 on tuning in. Make sure y'all tune in to them and listen to all their breakdown. All right, boys, that was Eric Henry.
With the heat.
Always, man, he's got us pumped up for that game. Always with the good inside info. Of course, he's down in New Orleans like he was talking about, but we're pumped for that. We're going to talk about that game in a little bit. But let's look around the rest of the college landscape before we get to the other semifinal game of Bama and Michigan. There's none other on December 30th coming up. We got number 11 Ole Miss versus number 10 Penn State. Boys, what do you got on that, big boy?
Well, Manny Diaz, is now at Duke, and their DN Chop Robinson and the cornerback, he's out. I think Kiffin is going to push the tempo against that Big Ten defense, and he's going to use it to beat Penn State. I think Ole Miss to win, but the 4.5 points, if you take that, to me, that's a lock. So I think Ole Miss is gonna take that one.
Yeah, I like Lane Kiffin. I like the way he runs his football team. Although I'm gonna say it, Penn State, I was high in their defense before, and I'm high in their defense still. I think their physical defense, I think they out physical Ole Miss. I think Penn State pulls this one out for the Big Ten.
No shot. If you've been watching us from the beginning, you all know Penn State. My thoughts on Penn State I don't think they've been a top 10 team all year. Ole Miss, man, they just got too much firepower, I think, and they got all their dudes playing too. I mean, think about it, right? They got quarterbacks playing, I mean, all their weapons. Too bad their portal guys that are coming in can't play, because that would be a beatdown if those dudes could play too. So,
well, I mean, Penn State has a lot of people playing too. They don't have a lot of people sitting out either. So,
yeah, but still, Penn State with that offense is terrible. Bro, you got to think, Ole Miss, they put up offensive numbers.
But I just think that, I don't know. I just like the physicality Penn State's defense plays with. Like, I'm a big
SEC don't play physical defense.
Not Big Ten, not as good as the Big Ten defenses, in my opinion.
But from who Penn State played though? That's what.
Well, that's a good point. The 2 big games that they played in, they've lost. That's a fair point. But I'm just saying, Ole Miss they did good, but I don't think they're a top SEC team. Like, I don't think they're one of the top SEC teams out of the 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like the physicality part, and I may be totally wrong, but I just like the physicality of Penn State's defense. So.
All right. Well, that is a little bit on the Ole Miss Penn State action. Pumped to watch that. Looking on the same day, boys. I mean, it's just packed. We got number 6 Georgia versus number 5 Florida State. We know what's that going to come down to. A lot of talk already about it, but I know Big Boy's got some stuff.
This is going to be brutal. This is going to be a beatdown, and it's Florida State. They got 15 players on both sides of the ball that aren't playing because transfer or going pro. They're starting that freshman Brock Glenn, who put up about 12 yards against Louisville. It's not good, guys. They're without their 3 starting receivers. Of course, they got some kids, coming up, but it's going to be tough. And most of Georgia guys are playing. You know, I don't think anybody's really opted out as of today. Even if Brock doesn't end up playing, I don't know. I think it's going to be brutal. The spread's 20 points. So unless there's a backdoor cover, I see Georgia just rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm glad that they made this matchup because then it's going to really shut up all the Florida State people saying, yeah, I mean,
Florida State, nobody's playing. I mean, they're top 2 quarterbacks.
right, but still, I mean, listen, where was I? Okay, Florida State, I'm telling straight offenses here, okay? Florida State has given, or as this is total offense, 219 yards against the most overrated team ever, in my opinion, Louisville. Okay. They got 224 total yards against a crappy Florida team. Okay. Granted, this is without their starting quarterback, but if they were in the playoffs, they wouldn't have their starting quarterback. So, you know, there's that. Georgia, on the other hand, last game against Alabama, 320 total offensive yards. 472 total offensive yards against Tennessee. And here's the big one, Mr. Ole Miss over here. 611 total yards versus at the time ranked number 9 Ole Miss. So you're just gonna see this Georgia team just, I mean, it's gonna be ugly.
And they're pissed because they didn't make the playoff.
Exactly.
They might.
And it's gonna be ugly. And I just can't wait to watch it, big boy. I really can't, because then no one's gonna have anything to say. So
I agree. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
I think so too. And I'm really glad, looking back to last night's game, or 2 nights ago when this will come out, obviously coming out Friday at 9 a.m. But I'm just glad that Louisville got showed up by USC's third string quarterback. So
that's what I'm saying.
That makes it look even worse for Florida State as a whole. And we're going to see, right? Georgia had that game against 2018 Texas in the Sugar Bowl, where, you know, they were pissed off they didn't make the playoff. And so is it going to be where they don't show up either and it comes out to somehow be a close game? But
I think they're going to.
I don't think it should be, just because you are going to have your starting quarterback still playing, right, for Georgia, and you're going to have most of your star players playing, unlike Florida State. So I think that's going to be a bad game, and most people will have that turned off by halftime into these other games. So
well, they might put up a goose egg.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I really would not surprise me if they scored 0 points in this game against Georgia.
That's why I didn't want to take the over.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really might, but Georgia might score 60. So that's why I don't take the under.
That's right.
Yep. Well, looking at another game that maybe that kind of same blowout is that New Year's Day game, right? You got number 8 Oregon, only 2 losses on the year to Washington, versus the top non-Power 5 team in number 23 Liberty, right? Bo Nix playing for Oregon. A lot of Oregon guys playing. I mean,
well, Liberty can run the ball. We know that. Now we'll see if they can run it against Oregon. They average over 300 yards a game rush. Bo Nix he's trying to break some records. There's a couple Oregon records. He's trying the single season passing record and the TD record. He's trying to beat Mariota. So he has, something to throw out there. I think he needs 3 touchdowns for the touchdown record and like 300 yards for the passing. So he's also trying to break the national completion record. So, and he has something to prove, after losing the Heisman. So I do think this could get ugly. I think I'd take Oregon minus the 16.5. I just think Liberty is very one. If they can stop the run, I mean, they're not going to be able to do anything. So, and this is a big boy team.
I agree. I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything against Oregon. It's big boy. The Liberty's coming in and playing big boy football now. And I don't think they haven't played anyone like Oregon. Like I said, you have a Heisman candidate on Oregon and Bo Nix
That you hate.
that I'm not a fan of,
Yeah.
but I know. Okay, I don't hate him. I just said Michael Penix was better, and he showed that. Beat him twice. But yeah, I think Liberty's outmatched here big time.
Well, I agree, man. Like I said, I'm kind of peaked at it. I think that's going to be another blowout game, but you never know, right? People thought UCF versus LSU in 2018 thought it was going to be just like that, right? And eventually turned out Joe Burrow to turn into a freak after that game. But looking at another game on that New Year's Day before this other semifinal game is number 17 Iowa versus number 21 Tennessee.
I think this is going to be an interesting game because Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton, he opted out. They got that freshman Nico, that 5-star. He's going to be starting, so he's going to have a lot to prove. And the top 2 running backs for Tennessee are also out. Tennessee did have a lot of transfers, and the defense for Iowa is pretty much staying. I don't think the linebacker has said if he is, but their safety, their All-American safety is going to be playing. I think I am going to take the over of 35.5. I think there will.
Wow.
I'm actually.
Iowa over. Wow.
It's going to end up being 3-0 probably now, and I will take Iowa plus the 6.5. I think they'll keep it close. I do.
Well, thank you for that insight, big boy. I'm gonna go Iowa with the defensive bout. Tennessee has really been not a lot of news on Tennessee this year. They've kind of been quiet.
They have a lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries, been quiet, not great, right? So I'm gonna take that defensive team in Iowa to pull that one out for them, especially with the 6 points, maybe even the money line on that one.
Hawkeyes.
Yeah, Tennessee all the way. Nico, the future of Tennessee, stud. I'm not even going to try to say his last name.
Yeah, that's why
I'm usually pretty good at the last names, but not even going to try that one. I do like Tennessee. But real quick before we get into this Bama-Michigan semifinal, we had the special appearance, and I believe they said it's coming out on Saturday. We joined Views from Section 400 to talk about the Texas-Washington game mainly, but we also talked a little bit about Bama-Michigan and that matchup. So make sure y'all tune in over to their podcast. They're doing some things over there, dropping videos every week. So tune into them to see kind of our back and forth. They've had a Washington money line to win the Natty since I think middle of the season, maybe start of the season. So we kind of talked with them about that. But getting back to ours, Bama and Michigan, boys. Nick Saban versus Harbaugh. What are we thinking?
All right, guys, this is blasphemy here, but I trust Michigan's defense over Milroe. I'm not sold on him, and I think the Michigan O-line and the running back Blake Corum, I think they get it done. Corum led all FBS running backs with 24 touchdowns, and he helped open up the pass for JJ. I know, I don't think Cade said in another podcast that he's had over 30 attempts in the game.
Yeah.
So, but I like Michigan. I think people are overlooking Michigan. I think they're kind of selling them short for what they did this year with, Harbaugh going out, getting suspended. I think Michigan wins, and I think they cover the 1.5, man. I think they win by 7-10 points.
Okay, so that's interesting you mentioned the 1.5 because it was 2.5 or maybe 2. So that means people are going Michigan. I was 50-50 on this game for a while, big boy. And to me, coming down to it, I think Michigan has the edge because of how good that running game is that they have. One of the best offensive lines. And obviously Blake Corum, like you said, has over a total of 1,000 yards on the season. Michigan's rushing for 2,100. So they're picking up another 1,000 without him. So that's on the offensive line too. So at the end of the day, I have to go to the edge with the running game, but also it's Nick Saban. You can't count Nick Saban out. Love him or hate him, I don't care. He's going to be the greatest of all time at the college level. He's been there, done that. So that's a scary game for me. I'm staying away from the betting side of it. because I'm truly 50 on it. But if I were to pick one, I would go Michigan because of the running
Okay.
game.
Let me sprinkle in that under. It's 44.5. I like the under. I think it's gonna be one of those knockout dragouts. 17-10 games.
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, I'm gonna be the one in the middle, just like sitting here. I like Bama. I don't know if it's just because I really kind of want to see the Bama Texas rematch, and just because I think
I
Texas,
don't.
I think Texas will win that game again and really get everyone to shut up about how that was just
That'd be
week 2.
crazy.
So I don't know if it's me just wanting that more, or I really think Nick Saban knows if he can stop that run, they're gonna win the game, right? JJ McCarthy, yes, he's a good quarterback, but he has not had to win the game for them yet. If you think about it, right? It's always been the running game at the end of the game who's won it for him. And I don't think if JJ McCarthy's gonna have to throw the ball, like we said, over 30 times, that's bad for Michigan, right? At the end of the day. And I just trust in Nick Saban's defense that they're gonna be able to come out and stop that run enough early in the game and go put up some points with Jalen Milroe running and throwing the ball that I like Alabama to win. So
I sure do hope not, because Texas is whooping.
Hey man, dude, this is the time. Whoever comes up, come on. You know what I mean?
Texas is whooping Washington's butt. We'll get into that in a second. Listen, beating Nick Saban once is tough. Beating them twice is impossible, some say. So we'll see.
You know what championship teams do the impossible. Anything is possible. Like
I hope
Kevin
so.
Garnett said when he won.
I hope so.
no doubt.
We got $1 million for saying that.
I did not know that.
$1 million. Thank you. And it was supposed to be that he was supposed to say like impossible is nothing or something like that. He said it wrong. They say he's still paying.
Gotcha.
Well, he mentioned it right. You know what time it is. We already talked a little bit about Eric, but now it's time for our own thoughts on this Texas and Washington matchup, boys. It's here finally. You know, it was kind of a fast month, though. Not gonna lie, it went by fast. It's coming this Monday, and I'm pumped for Tuesday's On the Edge episode. Hopefully, it's a good episode of us talking about a nice Texas dub. I mean, double-digit dub. I mean, that'd be so nice, and I think it's gonna happen. But what are your thoughts, Coop?
I'll go back. We talked about it with Eric a little bit, but I kind of disagree with Eric actually a little bit. And this is no shade to Eric, because appreciate you coming on. But he talked about the Texas defense, playing zone and then coming up and making a tackle. I don't trust our defense to do that. I don't know about y'all. I'm not comfortable with it. I need to see press defense, okay, and disrupting the pass. They're going to stop the run, okay? They've gone week in and week out stopping the run, and so it's going to happen. They're going to stop the run. But hey, I need to see some man coverage, bump to bump, use the sideline as your advantage as a corner. Throw the 50-50 ball. Let's go. Muhammad, boom. Let's go. Let's get it. I don't want to see us try to make tackles all night, because eventually those playmakers on that Washington offense are going to break tackles, and when you miss tackles, bad things happen. So
It's true.
that's my thought.
What do you think about what's the score? Who's gonna win? What do you think?
I think, like Eric said, they haven't scored under 30 really. So I'm going to say 38 to 28. I think double digits, something like that. So
Texas?
Texas, of course.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be closer than that. I think it's gonna be high scoring. When we talked earlier, we did talk about the running game and, winning it that way. I kind of believe that Quinn is gonna have one of those days for them to get in, because I am worried about the secondary. I don't know if they can stop it enough to not let Penix get off. And I do think Quinn is gonna have to have a day for us to win. I do think they pull it out. 38, 35, Longhorns.
Bro, Auburn making the game winner or what?
Sideshow Bob hitting the field goal, I gotta say about a 32-yard field goal to win it. They go crazy at the Sugar Bowl, and we go.
Coming to Houston.
Yep, coming to Houston.
And hopefully we'll be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I do worry about, Penix passing against our secondary, but hey, they've had a month, so let's figure it out. And so, but
Yeah.
Well, and you speak about that month, and if I'm saying this, I sure hope Sark knows it. And I think if the Texas offense can force some tempo on this Washington defense, it is going to be more than ideal. Washington has struggled all year with their personnel groups getting the right guys on the field when they faced up tempo, just like kind of Texas did against OU, right? We need that same kind of action, at least for the start of it. Get those guys tired, worn out. They're not as deep on the defensive side, and maybe catch them off guard a couple of times with some of those trick plays, some deep balls. When it comes to the offensive side, I think offense is going to be fine. Obviously, the biggest thing is going to be on the defense, and I mean the defense. They've been tested all year, right? One of the top defenses. Now, have they faced a quarterback like Michael Penix? No, but I think they're going to be able to get enough pressure, even though that O-line won the top O-line award in the nation. Props to them for winning that. But I think if Texas, and I think Texas will get that pressure on Penix, even though he's only been sacked less than 10 times this year. That's going to be the key for the defense is even if they don't get a sack, if they can just get in his face to make him force a throw that maybe he doesn't want. And it's going to come down to the 50-50 balls, right? Because when that happens, he's going to throw up a 50-50 ball. And it's going to come down to either the wide receiver in the corner or the wide receiver in the corner and the safety, and who's going to make a play.
But to go off of that, to get pressure on him, I think you have to play man.
you have to
play man.
Routes.
You have to.
They are so good at just getting it out.
You have to play man and bump and run and give your D line a little bit more time. If you play bump and run, it gives your D line like a couple more, like 2 seconds more, and that's huge when you have the 2 D tackles that you have. You know what I'm saying? So that's the main reason why I think they have to play man press defense.
I do think if we come in here on Tuesday and we're talking about Ethan Burke or Baron Sorrell, they've won the game. Because if they can get those 2 guys to get some type of pressure, the inside guys are going to get their push.
Yeah.
But if we can get some stuff off the edge with them 2, and Hill, I mean, don't get it twisted. I think they should send him on some blitzes. And I even heard them talking about, I can't remember if it was chipping them, I think it was, but talking about maybe watch out for those cornerback blitzes. Watch for the corner blitzes here.
All right. Well, I like Texas as well. 38-28, I think is what I said earlier. But joining us right now, I'm sure Kobe's going to ask us about it too. So it's not going away. It's still here, but we're going to bring on Kobe right now for Kobe's Locks of the Week. All right. Joining us now is Kobe for Kobe's Locks of the Weekend, of course, but a little more, guys. Kobe's slowly earning his stripes on the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition podcast, where he can talk slowly, where he can talk some games with us, right? It was a big NFL weekend this past weekend, and this coming weekend, it's another one. We haven't talked about it yet, but let's get it right into it, guys. None other than the Saturday night game, Cowboys and the Lions. Kobe, we'll get your thoughts in a second, but of course, we got to get the fans' thoughts over here. Number one fan.
I look at this game.
Oh, yeah.
How are the Cowboys favored by 5.5? A lot of people are saying the Cowboys are frauds, and that's kind of been proven. And this is coming from a fan. The Lions have won tougher games than the Cowboys. So I don't know why the line is 5.5. It kind of makes me think, but I think Dan Campbell is going to play Dan Campbell football, and he's going to try to bully him like the Bills did. And I don't know if the Cowboys can stop it. So we're going to find out. I just don't get it. I don't like the line. Unless people are just betting because it's the Cowboys, it's weird to me.
So the line is what? It's
Cowboys
Minus five.
5.5.
okay. I can give you my opinion on why that is. I'm gonna say that is because it's in Dallas. Because if it was on the road, they sure as hell want to be favored. Because we saw this past week that they have yet to prove again that they cannot win on the road. And I'm gonna leave it at that. And that's
Like
it.
you're kind of right, Cooper, but they would still be favorites because at home, I mean, a point swing for at home isn't 5 points. It'd be maybe like 3 points.
Right.
So
But I'm
they
just
would still
saying.
be favored, right? But and it's weird that I'm saying this to Ryan because he should be saying this to me because he's a fan. But
I'm a realist too, but
how can you say they're man? Y'all lost on the road at the Bills. That's just a tough fucking game against the Bills, who may be the hottest team in the league right now, who are playing great football. And then y'all go to Miami and y'all lose on a last second kick. Y'all shut the Dolphins down. And
should have won.
to shut the Dolphins down at Miami is rare and it's tough because they fucking score points there and they barely beat.
He's also got blown out this year too. I mean, Miami isn't. I think Miami's almost a fraud.
I was about to say
I'm
that.
not sold on Miami, and I like it. The only team the Cowboys have beat this year, legit, was Philadelphia. To me,
so I don't know if I would call it frauds though, because if you're saying fraud, then the Eagles are frauds. Y'all are frauds. Every other team besides San Fran and maybe the Ravens, you could call frauds then. No, I just think
I like Cleveland too.
Like I've been saying all year, man. Y'all a good team with a good to great roster with a below average coach. Y'all are gonna make the playoffs, maybe win in the first week, but y'all aren't a Super Bowl. There's 2 or 3 teams who are Super Bowl teams. I don't think that y'all are frauds though, man. Y'all are a good team, and I actually have y'all winning this game. Because 1, yes, it's at home, but 2, but I just think it's the whole thing.
5.5.
Huh? Yes. Yes. My first pick and maybe my play of the week is y'all minus 5.5. I think y'all stomp the Lions.
I like it.
I don't think I don't think they're frauds either. I don't think the Lions are frauds, but they're much more fraudulent than y'all, man. And they're just not. I'm just so sick of the fucking Lions. I don't want to be. I don't want to be the guy to say it, but fuck Dan Campbell. I'm tired of fucking hearing him. No, seriously, I don't want to be the only guy in the fucking world to say this, but I'm tired of fucking seeing that, dude. Come on, man. I love y'all. Yeah, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, seriously, he's annoying sometimes, man. I think that they're a one and done, maybe win one out. I don't see the Lions doing shit. I see y'all smoke
the playoffs and when they're going to make the playoffs. But if they win a game, I mean, that's like winning the Super Bowl if you're a Lions fan.
It's the most important win in franchise history.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think y'all are a top 5 team still, dude. And to me, any year a top 5 team can win the whole fucking thing. So it makes me sick to my stomach that I'm rooting for your team more than you are. But
well, I'm for them deep down, but fuck them.
I think the Cowboys. I'm with you, Kobe. I think the Cowboys are going to win.
Really?
Cover.
Support.
I just think after all their losses this year, they've always bounced back well, and I think it helps big time. It's at home in prime time.
Except
yeah.
Last week,
but you're on the road against a Miami team who I think is like on the same level kind of as the Cowboys, Lions, kind of right there in the middle between those two, right? They're either good or you don't know who they are. But speaking about the Dolphins, they got a big game this week after a big win, right? Last weekend, they got the Dolphins against the Ravens on Sunday.
Oh,
what are
yeah.
your thoughts on that, Coach?
Oh, yeah.
I like the Ravens. I'm all in.
Uh,
I'm all in on Lamar, and that defense showed a lot against San Francisco. To me, they really did, man.
man, real quick, I just gotta say this real quick. I'm sick to my stomach, dude. A week ago, I told my good friend, I told him exactly what's gonna happen. I said, Lamar right now, he was plus 500. Lamar's plus 500 to win the fucking MVP. I said the Ravens are gonna beat the Niners, and Brock Purdy is gonna look like shit, and that's exactly what happened, right? Now Lamar's fucking minus 200. I should have put $100. I don't know what. I don't know what I was thinking, but I knew what was gonna happen. Lamar's the truth. Ravens fucking stomped the Dolphins. I think they. I think they're the best team. Like I see a lot of people saying they already have a line out. And if San Francisco plays the Ravens in the Super Bowl, San Francisco's like -2. I think the Ravens beat them again.
Man,
I
into that game though, man. If they would have had, I mean, they were down to their last line. I mean, they had so many people hurt. I think San Francisco might have came back
Now,
if everyone was healthy.
I'm not saying they can win. I'm not saying San Fran could win, but it definitely wouldn't be as bad. Because you got to think, Brock Purdy had what, 4 interceptions? But like, it was really only like one of them was his.
Hey man, I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's the defense making plays still.
No, and I'm not taking anything away from it, but I'm just saying if they play again, I don't think he throws 4 interceptions.
It'd be a great game. It'd be way closer.
Yeah.
He's not. No, yeah, it'd be an actual back and forth good game.
I agree.
And I hope
maybe that referee doesn't trip Lamar because he had $1,000 off.
I've never seen that in my fucking life.
Laughing. I was like, hey man, like that's what are you doing?
That's a safety, bro.
Yeah.
If they had lost by a point or by 2, I mean, yeah, like shit. So yeah, man. I love the Ravens there. I don't have them just because I liked a lot of these picks. So I mean I have other picks, but
who do you trust more? Do you trust Harbaugh or Shanahan? And if they did play in the Super Bowl,
trust as in
just
if I paid for this,
a better coach.
I don't think can't say Harbaugh's not a good coach because he's been there so far. He's so consistent and he's been to Super Bowls, but I just think that coaching, it's Shanahan and it's not even close. But in terms of team building, I don't know if Harbaugh has anything to do with that, but he's had the good team building on that Ravens team for fucking what? He's been that coach for a long time now, man. Long time.
Second most tenured than Pittsburgh.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Both great coaches, but yeah.
No doubt.
No, I have a few. I like the Raiders more. I think the Raiders plus 3.5 against the Colts. I think that's a joke. I say it every fucking week. I don't understand about the Colts. It is scary that they did just get killed and now they're favorites against the hot Raiders team. That usually means take Colts, but I'm taking Raiders, dude. I mean, they're just, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because when we were picking and I saw that, I was like, they just got beat by a pretty mediocre Falcons team that is off and on. Like, not only beat, they got destroyed by the Falcons.
It was 29-7, I believe.
Yeah, they got destroyed. And so when I saw that, I went the opposite. I went what you were supposed to do, and I picked the Colts, but we'll see.
Yeah, I normally would, but here I don't know, man. It's like they want you to take the Colts. Like I don't know what they do there. It's like they switch that shit up every fucking week. And if you're on it on the right week and you're with, or if you're against the public, you're usually right. So
No.
I don't know, dude.
Well, we talked about it just now, tenured when it comes to coaches, long tenured, but someone who was very short tenured in their time was a player and none other than Russell Wilson and his time
Wow.
Denver Broncos.
Russ, just stop cooking, boys.
And you see his stats though, and you watch him play. I mean, he's not. I'll take Russ as the top
15.
18 quarter. I wouldn't say 15, but top 18.
15
Top.
with the dudes who are not hurt right now.
No, yeah. You see the stats, man. I guess if it saves them some money or something, I saw all that shit. If it saves, I don't know what it is. And honestly, I would have done the same thing because Jarrett Stidham, I've been saying it, he's a fucking stud, dude. Started as a true freshman. I've seen him. I'm sure that y'all have seen him too. He's a stud and he's a pro quarterback. I've been saying it. And the last time he started, I don't know if it's his last start, but his last start against the Chargers, that kid threw for like 350 and three. Hey, if y'all have Stidham in any fantasy, any plays or anything, start Stidham because I think he goes off this weekend, dude. He's a stud.
They're losing money somewhere though. I mean, it's gonna be a big
So it's they're not playing him because if he got hurt in this last two games, right? But they pretty much, I saw something. They told him pretty much earlier in the season, look, dude, you're not coming back next year. But so he knew he's not coming back. I don't know how they cut him and don't spend some money because how do you fucking just sign that massive contract like that? I mean,
and
it.
Was it something?
Payton's a douche.
Well, yeah, I wish he was coaching the Cowboys, but yeah, he coached though. Sean, do you think it was something between Sean Payton and him, and he was just like, I'm tired of it. Like, I just don't think we can win with him, or I don't like his attitude, the way he is. Because Russ is a weird dude. I mean, he's a weird dude.
Oh, he's a strange dude. The worst fall off trajectory of a pro quarterback. Like he was such a likable dude. He was, and then that whole the Mr. Unlimited. Since that shit, yeah. Oh my god, dude, his TikToks and all that. Like, I wouldn't want him on my fucking team. He's a strange dude, man.
There's something that has to be behind closed doors with Russ because his stats, you don't just like. I don't think you cut him because of that. Like his stats, they weren't bad. Like they went on a good winning streak. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
aren't bad.
Yeah,
yes, that's what I'm saying. Sean Payton's a fucking douche. I've been saying this. He's overrated.
Yeah, I don't think Sean.
Drew Brees.
Yeah, Sean did. Sean probably said it's me or him. I'm done with this. Who knows?
Sean runs that whole entire fucking.
Well, and that's the thing.
Russell owners of Walmart.
Russell was already there before Sean got hired, so it's like that wasn't Sean's pick.
Think of it like this: their owners own Walmart. They don't know two fucks about football. They hired Sean Payton and said, "You run the fucking show, dude." Sean makes every decision there. So if he wanted, it's 100%. And I saw him talking. He said, "Well, I can't bench the 5 offensive linemen," and he said, "I can't bench 4." So he basically said he can't bench all the other players. So I mean, he's got something on Russ, bro. Yeah, which I would take Russ. I would put Russ on a lot of. I mean, I don't understand the hate there. Just don't get it.
That got an extension.
He's back.
Tony Romo Jr., man. It's like, who are you going to get that's better? Like, how many, you know what I mean? So they're just going to stick with them. And, maybe we'll get another coach, though.
I don't know, man. I think y'all are stuck there, buddy.
With McCarthy, you think? Thanks.
I think they're stuck unless they lose like first round, second round. playoffs.
Oh, if they win a couple games in the playoffs, he's not going anywhere. So
I mean, I get that, but if your expectation every year is Super Bowl and you just can't make to the fucking Super Bowl, I mean,
I've heard a thing about that. And like they say, is Jerry really care about the Super Bowl? Or did you just care about being good enough to make all that money and be like the talk every year? And he's just raking it in, you know?
Yeah.
So because his ego is not going to let him, like, let's say Belichick does, let go. He's not going to go get a Belichick. He'll never let his ego do that because that's Kenny Johnson 2.0. Because Belichick will come in and say, "This is how I'm running shit." And,
can you picture if y'all got old Bill? That would be.
And Jerry just said, "Look, I'm tired. I'm done." It's not going to happen until he passes away and his son, does it, and just says, "Okay, you can take over." He'll let a coach really be the GM or hire a real GM.
I'll need a real GM. I've been saying that for a long time.
Jerry's
that
rich man fantasy football.
Hey, if I owned a team, I'd be.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I would do everything. Fuck that.
Well, before we look at these other games coming up, we're going to, of course, show you our picks, and Kobe's going to give us the rest of his here in a couple minutes. But we're going to go over to Big Boy Specialty, Longhorns in the NFL, before we give you our picks of the weekend.
Okay, boys, we had a big week here. Bijan, 12 carries, 72 yards, 7 receptions, 52 yards. Why don't you give it to him 20 times?
should.
Why don't you give it to him 20 times?
And hey, and look what they did. They beat the living dog crap out of the Colts. So
maybe that coach will learn before he gets fired, but I don't know. Cameron Dicker, 5 for 5 field goals, long of 53.
Yep.
So he had a game. Rojo, 9 carries, 41 yards, 3 receptions, 16 yards, and a special teams tackle. Brandon Jones, 9 tackles, 7 solos, and a fumble recovery against my Cowboys. If I'm not mistaken, he made that play on the goal line too.
he did.
So thanks, Brandon.
He's good, man.
He is. Both those safeties are doing good.
Yeah.
PJ Locke, 9 tackles, 5 solo, and another special teamer, Justin Tuck, 4 for 4, long of 41, and 3 PATs, 15 points.
Hey, shout out Tucker. He won me my fantasy this week. Brock Purdy got 4 points. Tucker got about 16, 15 points, and that's how I won fantasy, boys. So there we go.
I just got to add on to Ryan. I'm not a Longhorn, but I do know this. PJ Locke has been balling out so bad. The Broncos cut Kareem Jackson, and it's not because he got suspended. It's because he can't start now. It's because of Locke, dude. He's a stud.
Undrafted.
He's good. I've seen some highlights, man.
There's some good undrafted DBs from the Horns, from the Herman and Charlie Strong era that are doing pretty good. I mean, they got Deshaun Elliott. Deshaun Elliott goes starting for the Dolphins too, but
both starting safeties for the Dolphins.
Yep.
Man, I think Brandon Jones is that one kid. He went to. He was from. Huh?
I'm pretty sure he's from yeah. He almost went to.
And he was like a 5-star, right?
Yeah. He was a high dude.
That's crazy that he's playing pro now. That's crazy.
Is of course the board of the games for this weekend, and then we're gonna show you our picks. We're each gonna give you our one lock, and then we're gonna keep it up. And Kobe's gonna go ahead and tell us who his. I know he's already kind of talked about one pick, but who the rest of his picks are as well. Who do you got for your lock?
Well, I had the Lions plus 5.5, just because I'm so pissed at the Cowboys. But I'll go on to a little one that's little. I don't know. The Bengals plus 7. I like the Bengals here. I think they're going to keep it close. And I also like the Pats plus 13. Call me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a lot of points for Bill Belichick.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna go Jags -6.5 against the Panthers. I think they just win by more than a touchdown against the Panthers. So that's my lock.
I'm gonna go with Chicago. I think that line was 3.5. I want to say, and I just like the Bears have been playing decent ball, average ball, and the Falcons are too hit or miss, and they played good last week, so now they're gonna have a letdown game and play shitty this week in Chicago. So that's mine. Kobe, what are your remaining picks you got over there for us?
Man, I've got one more, dude. I think Tampa. It's Tampa -2.5. I just think the Saints all year, I've been saying it, they're just a really subpar team. Either they play really good or they play like shit. And I think this is the week they play like shit, dude. I'm starting to jump on Tampa's bandwagon a little bit, man. They have a very stout defense. Baker Mayfield, to me, he's the comeback player of the fucking year. He should be the favorite. It shouldn't be close.
Look, can we get real about that comeback player? Because DeMar Hamlin's probably going to win it just because.
That's
But he's
ridiculous.
not a comeback player.
He's been minus like 500.
That's
all year.
He
ridiculous.
shouldn't be though. I'm sorry. It's a great story, but he shouldn't be.
Oh yeah,
Barely
like-
dressed out.
exactly. If he was a Pro Bowler, oh God, lock.
He's even playing. Like literally, he
Yeah.
doesn't dress out most of the time. So I'm sorry. Like,
Scratch.
I mean,
Right.
hey, good story, but whatever.
No, great story, great guy. I've seen all the charities, all that shit.
yeah, maybe we shouldn't say that out loud, but let's be real about that.
Sorry. But getting real though,
Yes.
if it's not Baker, I mean,
Joe
who
Flacco
else?
coming
Oh.
into the season. Joey
About
Flacco.
old Joe. Hey, how about the Browns right now, man? Huh?
I like it.
Holy, dude, I thought the Jets.
Watch out for that defense, man. Because if
I
Flacco
put $5 on the Jets and the Detroit Pistons to win. It was 5 to win almost 200, right? I think the Pistons might win. Like they've lost 28 straight.
28,
Yeah,
28
it's
straight.
Well, they're I think they're up right now. So
Speaking of the Browns, you got two of the top three defenses in the league. Okay. And
Yeah.
This is kind of going to shock some people. 2 minutes before halftime, Browns 27, Jets 14.
damn.
what does he got?
Joe Flacco,
Oh my gosh.
15 for 21, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick.
Joey Flacco.
Rushing, Ford's got 10 carries, 59 yards.
I don't understand.
Joe Flacco on the Jets D, number 3 D in the league this year. And hey,
Bro,
props to the Jets for scoring 14 points on the Browns defense,
Yeah.
though. Props to them.
I'm sick to my stomach. I just heard so many things right there. I'm just sick. One, the Jets team total was 12.5. I fucking knew that. I didn't take it. I told my friend to take it. I'm sick to my stomach. 2, the over under for the game is already fucking over. I knew it was I'm so dumb. I know the picks. Don't fucking take them. 3, even when Flacco played last year, this is how he kind of played. Just why wasn't Flacco like this in his actual career? I don't understand why he came back. Bro, he came back. No. I'm saying how his style, how he's playing, he's slinging the fuck. He's never been just a gunslinger like this.
I mean,
They didn't let him in Baltimore.
He sat out for 3 years. He comes back and he's about to, dude. He's like Patty Mahomes Sr. He's
and then don't get me started on freaking him and Amari Cooper. That was awful to watch against them Texans.
I don't even think Amari Cooper's
you
playing.
don't say a word about that.
That was bad.
Bro, 200 and something yards.
And I watched the game and it's like, I don't remember him doing that. Like he caught it a few times, blah, blah, blah. but it was that one play.
No, that's what I was about to say.
but-
It was like there was like two like big plays that he
Yeah,
when he ran.
the Texans might be in trouble. I don't even want to talk about that. We'll talk about that one next week. I don't even want to talk about that one right now, boys.
Well, we have to win against the Titans, Scope, to even.
Okay.
You knew I like the Texans. What do you mean
I'm so sick of this, dude.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Well,
Sorry, real quick. I have one college pick, man. Georgia minus 19, 20, 21. I don't know what it's going to be. Florida State has a lot of kids sitting out. Georgia's fucking pissed that they're left out. All this talk about Florida State is going to prove that their third string QB is in. They have multiple skill dudes, linemen, a bunch of dudes.
All their 3 starting receivers are sitting.
They're done. I think it's gonna be like Georgia against TCU. It's gonna be like a fucking 63-13 type shit. Watch.
No, yeah, we talked about it before you came on here, and we were like, we won't be surprised if Georgia gives them the goose egg. I mean, Florida State may not score on their defense.
Maybe until Georgia puts in their fucking
exactly.
13.
You got to watch the backdoor cover on that. And number 2, I don't know if I take the over because they might get goose egg, or Georgia might score 60. So they might cover it by themselves.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, y'all all have UT to win. Y'all play on Monday night.
Monday night.
Woo!
What I was about to ask you before we get out of here and run out of time, who's your final matchups to win those semifinal games?
What is the spread?
I think it's still 4. Yeah, Texas -4.
I'll take y'all there. I think y'all win by. Man, that 4 is tough though. I'll still take y'all, and then I don't even know the line for Bama.
1.5.
Michigan favored 1.5.
What?
That's what I've seen. I like Michigan. I think Michigan beats them by 7 to 10 points. Personally,
I got Bama winning.
I got Bama beating the shit out of Michigan, man. Me and Cade might have to put a little money on that one.
Let's do it.
Disrespect.
Hey, and by the way, Joe Flacco before halftime just threw another 50-yard touchdown.
Flacco got 300 before half.
And there goes your lights.
Man, I'm fucking pissed, dude.
Ghost.
I had a feeling Joe Flacco. I bet I forget. I did some parlay and I had his under in yards. I was like, the Jets D is gonna lock Flacco down. Right? This man has 300 yards at the fucking half. I'm an idiot.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and spending the your box.
Tell Kurt to turn on the lights, man.
My lights, dude.
Pay the electric bill. But man, everyone watching, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you enjoy, of course, the college weekend, but NFL hopefully doesn't get looked over too much going into this weekend. There's some big games. Monday, big game. Tune in. Of course, the Tuesday, probably going to be our biggest Tuesday episode yet, no matter what happens this weekend, no matter what happens Monday night. Hopefully it's a good showing for the Horns, but that's all the time we have for you today on the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition. Make sure you can go get your merch still. Tune in to everything on the Sports Roundtable.
And the socials are right here.
Right over by Coop. Right over by Coop and Kobe. All the socials. But don't forget to subscribe, like,
ring that bell.
Ring the bell. And maybe get all your friends to come join us, and maybe we can get some Kobe permanent lights over there. So he doesn't go dark on us anymore.
What the hell, dude? I need money, guys.
But until next time, remember, it's not about the score, but it's about how much money you got on the game. And we'll see you Tuesday for Tuesdays on the Edge. Peace.
Y'all.